Hi, Patrick here. My darling wife and I are both retired and love to travel. We spend anywhere from 7 to 9 months of the year traveling in our motorhome. Over the course of the 6 or so years we've been doing this, I've slowly but steadily improved on how we go about planning our trips. Obviously, when you're out for months on end, it's a little different than just jumping into the bus to go away for a weekend. So there are multiple stops, there's lots of information, it takes a while to gather it. It's an evolving process. So when I'm putting together a trip plan, the tool that I use to pull it all together, so to speak, is Microsoft's OneNote application. This application allows me to easily gather all of the information associated with a trip in one location. OneNote is part of the Microsoft suite of products, so if you're a Microsoft Office user, chances are good you've already got OneNote installed on your PC or laptop. Today I'm going to give you a short video tour of what one of my finished plans looks like in OneNote, so you kind of have a sense of what it is that we're building. First I'm going to close down my little intro screen here. And this brings us now to what OneNote looks like. We are looking at a page within OneNote. You'll see OneNote follows a pretty simple paradigm. Across the top page here, you see that we have a series of tabs. Obviously, you can create more tabs or delete tabs or rename the tabs, change the colors, do whatever you want with them. Once you have a tab, you also then add pages to it. So it's real simple. Tab across the top, pages down the side, and you define what you put in those. So in my case, one of the things that I like to do is I like to keep a calendar in a calendar format. So I create calendars that correspond with our trip in Microsoft Excel. And then I take those calendars and I just simply use the screen cut and paste tool, and I move those onto pages within OneNote. Here, when I slip over to my calendar tab, here is my September calendar for this year. This is what my calendar looks like. Over here on the side, you'll see I've got calendars for May, June, July, August, which is when we're planning to leave on our next trip, September, October, November, December, and since this trip is going to move into 2022, we won't be returning home until May. I've also got calendars out here which are incomplete at this point, but I've got calendars out here for the first 5 months of 2022. I also take a tab that is where my trip planning documentation goes to. So here, this is about a spreadsheet that I use, and so I link my spreadsheet to it. I'm going to call the spreadsheet up into this to save us the headache of watching it load during this video. But what we'll do is we'll call over here and pull it up, and voila, there's my spreadsheet. I'm able to come into it and work with it from within OneNote or from Excel directly, whichever way I wish. When I save it, it sticks, and because in OneNote this is a link, whenever I hit this, it brings up the most current version of my spreadsheet. I also use lists. For example, I keep to-do lists. I'm constantly trying to remind myself. So here, this is my to-do list for coach prep. We just got back from a trip in the beginning of May, and this is all the stuff that I need to do between now and the time we leave in August to get it done. And all I got to do is come through it and check them off as I complete them. I have the same thing for the stuff I need to get done around the house. I add my to-do lists. I use a lot of packing lists, for example. Now, I have packing lists here. This tells me everything that I need. I use the same packing list from trip to trip, so it makes it very easy for me to simply populate this with existing information. So I've built it once, I use it time and time again, so as I'm planning a trip, I'm reusing that information. From there, I go to my itineraries. Our trip going out to the Pacific Northwest is cut up into 5 different segments. We have our trip out, our stay in the Pacific Northwest, a trip to Arizona, a stay in Arizona, and then a trip back to Michigan. So what I do with it, and this is really easy, I basically, when I prepare a trip, I create the trip in terms of legs. Where am I going to start? Here, where am I going to end? What's the campground going to be, and a little bit about the address. This comes out of the itinerary that I build in the spreadsheet. But what I do then is I take that information very simply and I put it here into OneNote. And then I happen to go out, I put a link to the campground's website, and I take it out of Google Maps, and I simply import with the directions to get there. So I end up with a pretty little picture of what that day's route is going to look like, as well as the directions should I care to refer to it like this. When I go out and I get for example, on this campground, they sent me a reservation confirmation. Well, I created a page, I opened it up, and I printed the email from the email directly into OneNote. So now I have the actual email note that I received from the campground showing me my reservation confirmation. And I do that for every link along the way. Now I can add more to this. For example, as we develop and decide what are we going to go do and see around St. Ignace, I may add additional pages. Adding an additional page is real simple. Things to do. All I got to do is come down here, click on New Page, and I got one. Things to do. And from there, all I've got to do is put in whatever I want. Simple. You build it, you put in whatever you want. Cut and paste, you can print to it, you can put spreadsheets in it, you can create links to websites, you can do whatever you want, and it's point and click. This is eye candy, and it works out very well. Now, I've done this in this case, for this trip. I show my stay out. I show my trips, the pieces of my trip out. So this is what I want to see. Now, when I'm done with this, the beauty of OneNote is pretty simple. What happens is OneNote will sync to if I save the OneNote file, or notebook as it's referred to, in a central location, for example, out on my OneDrive, my cell phone and my wife's cell phone, as well as the cell phones of my 2 children, can access that same file. And they can pull this information up directly from within the OneNote application loaded on their cell phones. This is really helpful for us. So when my wife I'm the one that does the planning in our household. I'm the one that puts these trip plans together. But my wife was always on the phone with one of her girlfriends and wants to know, where are we going to be in September? Well, the answer there is real simple. That 3rd week in September, if she goes out here and looks at the calendar and says 3rd week in September, well, we're going to be in Coeur d'Alene. There, she can answer those kinds of questions real easy, simply by looking up the OneNote, this exact same data on her spreadsheet or on her cell phone. For me, when we pull up to the Butte KOA in Butte, Montana, well, how am I going to, when I go in to register, I'm going to go in and look at my trip out, I'm going to look at my trip to Butte, and I'm going to see right here that when I walk into that campground, I can pull up on my cell phone. Well, here's my reservation, and my reservation number is, I have all that data right here. It makes it so simple to work and know where you're at, all the information associated with your trip, and it's always in my pocket because my cell phone goes with me pretty much everywhere. Anyway, that's the overview of what I do within this. the thing with OneNote is what you do with it is up to your imagination. You live within the confines of the sections or folders across the top and pages within the folder. But whatever you put in there, it's completely up to you. And it's so simple to use, and the ability, and its canned ability to share your trip plans with your spouse, with your friends and family, makes it so easy. In my case, I don't share the details with everybody, but I do share it with my family so that when my kids wonder, where in the hell are my parents? Where is mom and dad? They can go out, pull this thing up, and they know where we intended to be. We find it to be very useful. Hopefully this little video has piqued your interest at least. If you are interested in working with this, take a look at OneNote. You're going to find it to be an extremely helpful tool. Thanks for listening.